When you're facing one of those huge, life-altering decisions, you know the ones, it really can feel like you're caught in the middle of a storm, right? Everything and everyone around you is just screaming, do something, make a choice. But what if the real work isn't about fighting the storm at all? What if it's about strengthening your roots so deep and so strong that the storm just can't touch you? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore today.
Does this sound familiar? I mean, that feeling of being completely paralyzed, just hanging in midair. The pressure keeps building, the noise from the outside world gets louder and louder, and you're just stuck. For so many of us, this is exactly where we are when a crisis hits. It's a feeling of total, overwhelming indecision. Okay, before we dive in, let's be really clear about something. The journey we're about to map out, it's for people who are genuinely ready to transform their lives. I'm talking about those who are willing to do the deep work, to reflect, to write down their thoughts, to face their anxieties and fears, and to really practice being mindful. If you're ready for that, this could be a real turning point. For everyone else, hey, this is just an informational video, and that's okay too. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to talk about all that pressure. Then we'll look at why quick fixes are so flawed. After that, we'll uncover the true opportunity hiding in the crisis, which is something called character elevation. We'll use a really powerful metaphor about strengthening your roots to guide us. And finally, we'll get practical and learn how to communicate all of this to the world around you. All right, let's start with that storm. Because when you're in the thick of a crisis, it feels like this hurricane of opinions and advice and expectations is just swirling all around you, making it almost impossible to hear yourself think.
And the voices, they come from everywhere, don't they? From family, from friends, from society. And the craziest part is, they're all saying different, totally contradictory things. One person says, you have to leave, and the next says, you have to make it work. You'll hear, think about yourself, followed immediately by, but what about the children? All this so-called advice just creates this incredible mental chaos, this storm of noise that makes finding your own true voice feel completely impossible.
You know, when you're stuck in that storm, it is so natural to just want an escape hatch, a quick fix. We think if I can just make a decision, any decision, the pressure will stop. But this desire for a fast answer, well, it's a really dangerous illusion. Look at these two paths. They show everything. On one side, you've got this result-oriented panic. Your entire focus is on the decision, which just creates anxiety and pressure and this desperate feeling of urgency. The outcome is usually fragile and often pretty toxic. But on the other side, you have process-oriented growth. See the difference? Here, the focus shifts from the external problem to your internal self. The goal isn't speed, it's clarity. And that leads to an outcome that is resilient and truly sustainable.
And this right here, this is the hidden cost of rushing things. We all know people who make these super fast, decisive moves, and we think, wow, they're so strong, so clear-headed, but that's only half the story. If that quick decision comes from a place of panic and it doesn't address any of the underlying personal issues, those issues don't just disappear. Oh no, they come back later and they often turn that person toxic because the real internal work was just completely skipped over.
You know, if this whole idea of shifting your focus from the result to the process is really clicking for you, this would be a great moment to hit subscribe and like this explainer. We break down big concepts just like this one all the time, and we'd absolutely love to have you along for the ride. So, if a quick decision isn't the goal, then what is? This brings us to the absolute heart of this entire idea. Seeing a crisis not as some terrible problem you have to solve, but as an opportunity for something much deeper. We call it character elevation. Character elevation simply means you stop focusing on escaping the situation and you start focusing on growing through it. It's about consciously building up your internal muscles, your clarity, your emotional stability, your core principles. You're becoming the kind of person who can not only make a good decision, but who can thrive, truly thrive, no matter what the outcome of that decision ends up being.
Now, to really get a handle on this process, let's use a simple but powerful metaphor that's going to anchor the rest of our journey together. It is all about strengthening your roots.
Just think about this for a second. A plant has zero control over the weather, right? Worrying about a storm or a drought, it's a total waste of energy. The only productive thing it can do is deepen its roots, draw in nutrients, and build a foundation that's as strong as possible. Well, it's the exact same for us. Our job isn't to try and predict or control all the storms in our lives. Our job is to build our internal resilience. So what does this actually look like in real life?
What does strengthening your roots mean? Well, it means doing the real work. It means getting crystal clear on what you personally truly value. It means developing emotional stability so you're not just tossed around by every feeling that comes along. It's about learning to communicate better, understanding your own reactive patterns, and building your life on a solid foundation of principles, not just knee-jerk reactions to whatever crisis is in front of you.
Okay, so you're committed. You're going to do the work on your roots. That's huge. But the storm is still raging outside, right? The next step is learning how to manage all that external pressure while you do this quiet internal work. And it all comes down to how you communicate your process.
Here is your practical guide for managing all that noise. Step 1. Decide on a realistic time frame for yourself, maybe 3 to 6 months. Step 2. Articulate your process. Tell people clearly, I'm taking this time to gain clarity and work on myself. You're not confused, you are in a process. Step 3, and this one is so important, deliver that exact same message to everyone. It stops the confusion in its tracks. And finally, step 4, invite people to talk about your process, but you firmly refuse to be rushed into an outcome.
And here is where the magic happens. When you stand firm with this calm, principled approach, something amazing starts to shift. The situation itself begins to change. The people around you are forced to react to your newfound clarity. And their responses, whether they're patient and supportive or demanding and angry, will tell you everything you need to know. The truth just emerges. You won't have to guess anymore.
And please be patient with yourself through all of this. I mean, think about it. It probably took you years of school and work to develop your professional skills. Nobody expected you to be an expert on day one. Well, developing your character, that is a skill of the highest order. It also takes time. It takes practice, and it takes a whole lot of patience. So give yourself the grace to grow.
So let's just wrap our heads around this crucial point. We have to reframe the entire goal. This isn't about finding some magic answer to solve one single problem. It's about forging yourself into the kind of person who has the strength, the wisdom, and the resilience to handle whatever life decides to throw at you next.
And so, that leaves us with one last vital question to ask ourselves. In your life, right now, where is your focus? Are you just exhausted from fighting the wind and the rain of the storm? Or are you quietly, patiently, and powerfully strengthening your roots?
Thank you so much for joining us. If what we talked about today resonated with you, please do like, share, and subscribe for more explainers on personal growth. And remember, if you're personally struggling with these kinds of issues in your life, support is available. You can reach out to enroll or register for help. The contact information is right there on your screen. We'll see you next time.